Let's go live back to federal politics. I want to be joined by the former Speaker now of the House, member for Fisher, Andrew Wallace. The Prime Minister pointing the finger at Peter Dutton for getting private jets with billionaires. He was saying that Paul Fletcher has had more upgrades than him and he's been in Parliament less time. Is this a case of glass houses right now, Andrew Wallace?
No, this is a case of deflect on the part of the Prime Minister and his ministers that are running a protection racket yesterday and today. It's pretty simple, Kieran. This is a guy that came to the Lodge in 2022 promising a kinder, gentler, more transparent Parliament, honesty, integrity, and we've seen anything but. This is a guy that when he's pushed up against a wall will come out swinging and trying to blame everybody but himself. It's pretty simple. When the Prime Minister was either the shadow Transport Minister or, in fact, the Transport Minister, the person who was responsible for regulating the aviation sector, as well as being the Prime Minister, did he receive a benefit? Did he make a phone call to the Alan Joyce personally, asking for upgrades from the CEO? Now, the Prime Minister can point the finger at anybody he likes, but I've not heard any other politician say that they have called the CEO of Qantas or Virgin or anybody else personally requesting an upgrade. And this is when he was in a position of responsibility.
He says he doesn't have shares in companies, no family trusts. And everything that he's received, he's declared that he's been vigilant on declaring everything. So if everything is transparent, is that fair enough?
Well, I don't think so, Kieran, because it's not just a matter of filling out the Register of Interests form that we all do, all parliamentarians do. This guy, the Prime Minister, when he was in the position of the person responsible for the regulation of the aviation sector, or was the shadow, he was receiving personal benefits, personal upgrades, both to he and as I understand it, his family as well. What was the quid pro quo? Even if it was a subconscious one, what was the benefit that was provided back to Qantas? Was it, for instance, favourable slots in Sydney Airport? Was it the chilling or freezing out of Qatar Airways, as we saw in the last couple of years? These are the sort of things that I think the Prime Minister needs to come before the Parliament, needs to come before a committee, a Senate committee perhaps, and be grilled on what benefits he received. It's very, very different. We can't just say that completing the Register of Interests, that therefore obviates his responsibility. It does not. Not when he was responsible as the minister or the shadow for regulating the aviation sector. That's a very shallow and hollow
It's interesting.
Response.
The Prime Minister's, he did have a crack at the author of the book, The Chairman's Lounge, Joe Aston, for not being upfront about being a former Liberal staffer and employee of Qantas. I do notice, though, on the LinkedIn page, Joe Aston's LinkedIn page, that is actually all there and upfront and public, so people can make their own judgment as to all of that. But the idea it wasn't declared is actually, that's not 100% right.
Well, it's not correct. It's not 100% right. It's not correct. So, this is true form from the Prime Minister.
100%
He comes
false.
out swinging. He comes out swinging when his back's against the wall. And, look, what we have seen from the Prime Minister over the last several months is not a week has gone by where he hasn't gone from disaster to disaster to disaster. And I tell you what, Australians have had a gutful of this bloke. They've switched off, and I think that they are looking forward to the next federal election.
The Queensland election, do you take any confidence from the state result and the triumph of David Crisafulli?
Well, look, I was on the booths over the weekend. I saw a great result on Saturday night, as all Australians did. This was an issue which was run very specifically on state-based issues. So I know in my heart of hearts, Kieran, I don't draw any great comparisons between the victory that we had on Saturday at a state level and, therefore, we're a shoo-in at the next federal election. I don't draw those comparisons. I think that what we saw was a very, very tired Labor state government after being in power for the last 9 years, but 30 out of the last 35, compared to a very vibrant, renewed then opposition led by David Crucifulli. And I think that the scare campaigns that Labor ran in the last week amounted to, well, they were totally unsuccessful because many people saw through them. So I think that there are obviously some learnings, but I don't see any direct correlations.
Okay, well, it's going to be an event in itself, and that campaign fought on its own terms. Yep, I tend to agree, and so much depends on tomorrow's CPI number and the trajectory for interest rates. We'll talk about that next week when I see you, Andrew Wallace. Thank you for that.